Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and look at your unit circle and really understand how to fill out every single part of the unit circle, from the terminal points and the angles and degrees, as well as angles and radians. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to understand that a unit circle is a circle. So you have 360 degrees going one full rotation all the way around. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start here at 0 degrees, and we're going to just count all the way around the circle. So we start at 0, so you know that going as a straight line is 180, and going all the way around would give you 360 degrees. Okay, so now half of 180 we know is 90 degrees. And then if you keep counting up by the axes, what you're going to do is you're going to count up by 90. So that means this bottom here is going to be 270 degrees. So then if we think about it, half of the 90 in this middle is going to be 45. So every time that we count, we're going to include the middle of the 3. And we're going to go ahead and include the axes as well as you count all the way around. So we're going to go 45, you're going to go 90, you're going to add another 45 degrees, which gets you 135. Adding 45 gets you 180. Adding another 45 gets you 225. Adding another 225 gets you 270. Adding another 45 gets you 315. And then going all the way around, going 45 gets you 360. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and think about the other two that you see. So now the other two that we see, we're going to look and we're going to compare. So we have this angle and this angle. Now if you think about it, these are really going to be almost like little pieces of a pie, right? So you have this little piece, and then you have this little piece, and you have this little piece. Now you have 3 pieces. So this sort of quarter of the 90 degrees are 3 pieces, so that means we're going to divide by 3, so 90 divided by 3 is 30. So every piece that you have is going to count up by 30 degrees. So you have 30, and then you have 60, and then the next piece you have is 90. So again, including your axes, we're going to keep counting. So another 30 degrees is 120. Another 30 is 150. Now we've reached 180. Then you're going to go to 210. Another 30 is 240. Then you hit 270. Another 30 is 300. Another 30 is 330. And then again, like we know, going all the way around full circle, we have reached 360. All right, so that's if we go ahead and look at our degrees. Okay, now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and look at our radians. Now our radians, remember, is just what you have is your angle when you're dealing with the pies. So when we think about pi, again, we're going to think about 0 starting at 0. 180 degrees is 1 pi. And then going all the way another 180 degrees or going full circle gets you 2 pi. Now again, you're going to think you have 1 pi, half of that, so half of 180 is your 90, half of 1 pi is pi over 2. So now every 90 degrees that you're going to count, which is your axes, right? Every 90 degrees that you're going to count is going to be counting up by a half of a pi. So you have pi over 2, you have 2 pi over 2, which is 1 pi. You're going to get 3 pi over 2. And then counting all the way around is 4 pi over 2, which is really just 2 pi. All right, so now the next thing you're going to think about is if you sort of cut again in half. So we went from 90 to 45 degrees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to think about all these middle angles. And so now these middle angles, if it's going to be 90 and half of that is 45, then I got pi over 2. Half of that is going to be pi over 4. That means every sort of yellow angle that you see or that you're going to land at as you're counting, including your axes, which are blue, you're going to count by pi over 4 or 1/4 pi. So we have pi over 4. We're going to count Add another fourth, that gets us 2 pi over 4, which is the same thing as pi over 2. Adding another fourth is going to get us 3 pi over 4. Another 1/4 is 4 pi over 4, which was the 180, which is just the 1 pi. You're going to add another fourth, which is 5 pi over 4. Then you're going to add to get 6 pi over 4, which is 3 over 2. Then you're going to add 7 pi over 4, and then 8 pi over 4 lands you right at 2 pi, so we're good. Okay, the following thing you're going to think about regarding radians is, again, when we talked about the little pieces. We count up the 3 pieces of your pi. That's how we got 30 degrees. So now you're going to think about, okay, well, I've got 30 degrees. And so what I'm going to look at is that if that was a third of 90, then in radians, it has to be a third of pi over 2. So 1/3 of 1/2 is the same thing as 1/6. All right, well, now remember that we went from 30, we added another 30, got us to the 60 mark. And then when we added again, it got us to that 90 mark. So what we're going to also include as you count your radians are also going to be the 60 degrees. So right here, which we're going to highlight as red. We're going to show you how these again simplify. You're going to count up by 1/6. So 1/6 plus another 1/6 is 2 pi over 6, which is the same thing as pi over 3. We're going to reduce our fraction. Adding another 6 gets us 3 pi over 6, which is 1/2. Adding another 1/6 is the same thing as 4 pi over 6, which is the same thing as 2 pi over 3. Adding another 1/6 gets us 5 pi over 6. Another 1/6 gets us 6 over 6, which is the same thing as the 1 pi. Add another 1/6 get us 7 pi over 6. Adding another gets us 8 pi over 6, which is the same thing as 4 pi over 3. Another 1/6 is 9/6, which is 3 over 2. One more gets us 10 pi over 6, which is the same thing as 5 pi over 3. Adding another 1/6 is 11 pi over 6. And one more is 12 pi over 6, which is the same thing as 2 pi. What exactly is a unit circle? So a unit circle is a circle whose radius is 1. So every axis that you have is going to be a length of 1. So this point right here is going to be 1, 0. Then you're going to get 0, 1. Then this point is going to be negative 1, 0. And our bottom point is going to be 0, negative 1. So all of our radii of our circle is going to be a unit of 1. Now the other 3 terminal points for the red, the green, and the yellow are dealing with our special right triangles, our 45, 45, 90, and our 30, 60, 90. So you could look at the video up above to go ahead and get that full sort of explanation on that. So remember, all of our middle angles are going to be the same for the x and the y. This is your isosceles triangles. So that's going to be root 2 over 2 and root 2 over 2. Now, when you are dealing with this, what you need to be aware of is every single yellow that you see, the angle is going to have the same x and the same y. Now, the only thing that's different is that in quadrant 2, my x will be negative. In quadrant 3, my x and my y are going to be negative. And in quadrant 4, only my y is going to be negative. And you're really thinking about a coordinate graph, right? What's positive in quadrant 1? What's positive in quadrant 2? What's negative in quadrant 3? And then what's positive and negative in quadrant 4? All right, so what you have in my green, my pi over 6, is going to be root 3 over 2, and then 1/2. So all of your green angles, which are your 30 degrees or your pi's over 6, is going to be root 3 over 2 and then 1/2. And again, following that same pattern of what is negative and positive based on which quadrant you are in. All right, and then my red angles, which are my 60 and my pi's over 3s, are actually reversed, right? So for our 30 degrees, it's root 3 and then 1, but in 60 degrees, it's going to be actually 1/2 and then root 3 over 2. So then you got negative 1/2 and root 3 over 2. You have negative 1/2 and negative root 3 over 2. And then you have a positive 1/2 and a negative root 3 over 2. Okay, just to help you to remember how to find your terminal point, right? Your middles are going to be a little bit easier to remember just because they are the same for x and y, so it's always going to be root 2 over 2. But for your 30 degrees or your 60 degrees, those are reversed. And how to remember is that if you're thinking about the very long distance for your x, right? It's a long distance for your x and a very short distance for your y. So your long distances are always going to be root 3 and the short distance is always going to be 1. And then when you're looking at the red, for your x, it is a very short distance, but your y's are very long. That's why it's 1/2 and then root 3 over 2. And then you also know for your axis going all the way around, it's always going to be 1 and 0. Don't forget to subscribe for more pre-calculus videos and anything more about the unit circle and trigonometry. Thanks for watching and have a great day.